Well, whether you're here or whether you're online, you can notice the little wreath up here, the Advent wreath. And two of the candles are lighted. Of course, last week we lit the candle for hope, and then today the candle for peace. Last Thursday, December 7th, in New York City, 59th Street at Central Park, there was the lighting of the largest Hanukkah in the world. Anybody know what a Hanukkah is? It's the menorah, the candelabra, that holds 9 candles, the Advent menorah, called a Hanukkah. I had to look up how to pronounce that, but I like the word Hanukkah. So it started off, now we're in the middle of it, the Festival of Lights. And I want to share a little bit of a story about the Festival of Lights. It began in the 2nd century of this Christian era, and it began at a time when Israel was dominated not by the Romans as they were in the time of Jesus, but by the Greeks. And the Greeks were threatened by this spiritual community, this faith tradition, and so they began to repress that bit by bit, eventually getting to the point where they took the temple and banned Sabbath, for one thing, but secondly, put a big statue of Zeus up in the temple and offered pigs for offering on the altar in the temple. Well, if you're Jewish, or even if you know anything, that probably is a very, very difficult situation, very chaotic, very frightening, but that's where it all happened. Then there began to be a resistance to that. We know the name of Judas Maccabeus. Shakespeare will give us that. Handel wrote an oratorio called Judas Maccabeus, and it's come down through history. This was a resistance of a few in the Jewish community who did not stay at ease with the injustice of what was, but wanted to reclaim their faith tradition. It went on for a while through 3 different armies of the Greeks. It was more like a guerrilla warfare than anything else, and eventually, the community reclaimed the temple. So when they went to the temple, it was in shambles, and only one little jar of oil was there, this sacred oil, and it took 8 days to make that oil. But only one jar was there, enough for 1 day. What a predicament. But they lit the lamp anyway. They returned the light to their temple. And guess what? I hear somebody kind of mouthing the words, it lasted for 8 days. That jar of oil lasted for 8 days. And thus we have the menorah. 9 candles, 8 for each one of the days of Hanukkah, and the one candle in the middle called the shamash, which was the candle that lit all of the other candles. It's a wonderful figure that talks to us about how we bring peace back into this world. Part of it's almost like a miracle, part of it's our doing as well. I want to go on from my story. We'll take it back up again at the end like I often do. As I considered this peace that we're there, I realized that part of the reason, maybe a big part, is that we're not aware of the peace that's available to us. Sue talked about a little bit about how there's a peace that passes or transcends all understanding, because it's peace that comes from within. We know that the Christ within not some figure outside of us, is where the truth comes to us. And so that peace within, we're often not aware of it, or we don't act like we're aware of it. Sometimes the chaos in the world is so great that we can't seem to access it, or we're drawn away, as that reading said, from that. But peace is there, and that's what I want to talk about today. Being aware of peace, and I put together a key spiritual truth. Peace is possible when we affirm it, allow it, and become it. Peace is possible when we affirm it, allow it, and become it. We'll talk about the possibility of peace. That's right there in that key spiritual truth. We'll talk about a little bit about how it connects with the very purpose that we have as expressions of the divine and as humans here on this planet. And a bit about being empowered to live the truth. So, what about the need for peace? Again, Sue, you're doing a good job. You referred to that need for peace in our society. Sometimes it's so chaotic. This side against that side, throw everything up in the air, take away all tradition, start something new, don't consult anybody else. It's chaotic. And our society can be that way. Well, how do we live? How do we celebrate the emergence of peace in this world, in this chaotic world? So it really is similar to the situation of Israel in the time when Hanukkah began. Totally chaotic, fearful. And so we find ourselves in a similar place, perhaps, well, for sure, not to the extreme of the story. But it also was the milieu around the birth of Jesus, whose birth we celebrate on Christmas in our Christian tradition. Because Israel was occupied by the Romans at that time. The taxes were great. The demands were many. In fact, Mary and Joseph, when Mary was pregnant and about to give birth, had to leave and go to a town where they were born, but they didn't currently live there, in order to comply with the regulations of the Romans, and that chafed with them. So it's obvious that the message that the angels brought when they came to the shepherds out on that hillside, peace on earth, goodwill toward all people, was a very appropriate message because it really poked right into that chaos of that particular time. And what we want to do is to poke into the chaos of our time and maybe the chaos of our lives as we consider this today. Today we realize the need for peace in the midst of that chaos, in the midst of what separates us, in the midst of, yes, even hate. And we know when we are aware of it, when we can get back to the awareness, we know that all things do work together for good. That we are expressions of the divine, that we in fact are co-creators with the divine as well. And so we have a role in all of this. I really like one of the New Thought authors, who was a contemporary of our founders, Myrtle and Charles, called Wallace Wattles. Anybody know Wallace Wattles? Wrote a book. I'm not sure, I'm not crazy about the title, but I like what he had to say. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. And I just wanted to quote something for that because it demonstrates this truth so poignantly. This truth that we play a part in the role of creation. Here we go. Wallace says there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. A person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. Well, yeah, we can sort of agree with that. But I'm not sure, and I'm talking to myself as well, that we really live in the light of that truth, that we are divine expressions, that we are given the ability to participate in creation of our own reality through our thought. Kind of behooves us to do a little bit of control on the thought level, to grow that ability to think as we desire to think, to make real our participation in the bringing of the divine out into our world. And today we would say in the bringing of peace. Peace. Peace is possible, yes, when we affirm it. Do we take the opportunity, as I sometimes don't, confession, to affirm peace? Do I affirm something that's negative or that's full of maybe angst or fear or puts me apart from somebody else? Or do I affirm the peace that, again, transcends all understanding? But why would we even pursue peace? Well, we do that, I think, because it's the very living out of our purpose. Of course, yes, each of us have an individual purpose. We have a unique identity, and we have that we can express into the world. Some of us know that. Some of us are still looking for it. But we all have a purpose that's overarching, that's bigger than even our unique identity, and that is to be expression of the divine. We have 4 omnis that we talk about often: omniscience, all-knowing; omnipotence, all-powerful. I'm getting to omnibeneficent, which is all good. Which one am I missing? Omnipresence, all present. These qualities are the qualities of the divine, which we are challenged to express in the world. And when we do that, the world is drained of chaos. Maybe first in a very small way, but in a way that we can participate in that eventually affects the whole. If we don't pursue peace, we are destined to live in poverty, as it will. Not necessarily financial poverty, but poverty of spirit. It's there for us. The possibility of it is there for us, but if we don't use it, we are poor. There's a scripture that says, "Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit." Spirit it is that does a little bit of a different thing than the society tends to do. Doesn't take political might, doesn't take physical might and make that what changes the world. But it takes a power that is within us. That power of power that we talk about when we talk about the 12 powers in unity. That power within us, and bit by bit, strongly chips away at that which is separate, that which is fearful, that which is hateful. That's why we would want to pursue peace, because it's part of our very nature to do that, part of our purpose as just divine expressions. But getting down to how we would do that, and I like to think it's a matter of living in that power that I spoke of. Do you think of yourself as powerful? I have to, again, do a little confessing here. It wasn't very long ago, within the last 2 months, I think that in my meditation it came to me that I was really a very timid being. That I wasn't claiming the divine power, that ability to master, that ability to control myself and my situation. I wasn't claiming that. I wasn't living it. That's the heritage that we have. But we must claim it and live it, live in our power. And the big thing I referred to once before was choosing our thoughts. Oh, we talk about monkey mind. Oh, I can't. My mind just goes wild. Have you realized that you have the ability to control your thoughts? Have you given yourself the challenge of controlling your thought? Imagine the possibilities if you could control your thought. Well, you can. So don't bemoan the fact that there are so many reasons you can't control your thought, but get on with working on controlling your thought. You do have that ability. So all of these things, the great possibilities that are there, remember that substance, that inexhaustible substance, that source of all things that we often talk about when we refer to God or the universe or all that is, that's there for us. But how do we put it into play? And of course, as always, I have some ideas about that I want to share with you. Triple AB, I'm going to call it. 3 A's. So this is so you can remember. This is the first exercise in controlling your thought, okay? You're going to remember this. Triple AB. How do I do that? Affirming. We'll get into the next one. Affirming or envisioning. The visioning process, Joanne showed me a book that I referred to a couple weeks back, and she's got it. She started reading it. Affirming the truth of all that possibility that's there. Affirming the fact that we can be participant in that we can be the peacemaker, or as we're going to hear soon, the instrument of peace. Remember that prayer of St. Francis of Assisi? It's going to be sung, but I'm going to say the text of it before. I hope you don't mind. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light, as we celebrate it now. And where there is sadness, joy. And I'll leave it there. So A, affirm it. Affirm that. The more you say it, the more you will become it. Say it out loud to yourself if nobody else is there to listen. Affirm that peace. The peace that transcends human or ordinary understanding. Second A, and this is a biggie. allowing. So often we try so hard to get what we want. We do that on technology. We've been trying for 2+ years to make things work. And I have to realize that I've done a lot of that. But sometimes when we sit back and say, I've done what I'm to do, and take our hands off of the process, things happen. They've begun to happen here with our AV. We have a little work yet to do. But allowing, do you take all of those challenges that you have and at one point say it's time to step back and allow? Remember, we are spiritual beings. The resources of spirit are at our disposal. Sometimes all we need to do is allow them. Affirm, allow. Third one is that connection with spirit, and I call it angel connection. We had morning coffee the other day, and a story was told there about, and it was interesting because it was technology, about difficulty with technology and the number of hours that it consumed to try to get something to do. And finally, stepping back, allowed an angel to appear. Oh, not one with wings, not even that angel in our consciousness, but a physical angel. So whether it be in our consciousness that we allow the angel to show up, or in our physical world, that angel connection is so important. The story was of, after long and earnest trying to say, what, I never had this technology before in my life, and I'm trying to battle it out right now, and life won't end without it. I'm going to say I've done what I should do, and I'm stepping back. Within hours, the angel appeared and took care of the challenge technically. It was a wonderful story. It was great to hear that. So you got that. Affirming, allowing, you're using this thought mind, right? Affirming, allowing, and angel connection. Just allowing spirit to be there for us. And then finally, becoming an instrument of peace. We had our usual Saturday afternoon soul boost yesterday. And one of the things that the group came up with, it's a wonderful time, by the way, if you 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon, if you can jump online, Saturday Soul Boost, and I'll share some things about the message that's going to come up, and I'll get a lot of feedback. It's really helpful to me. But one of the things that came up was, how do I do something? What do I do to become peace? What do I do to promote peace? What do I do to become an instrument of peace? So I'd like to suggest something very simple. Ask yourself the question, what can I do to be an instrument of peace today? If you do this every day, it'll change you. It'll change your life. It'll change the situation around you. What can I do to be an instrument of peace? Divine peace. And you'll find it. It may seem very small. It may be complimenting somebody else. Maybe as simple as a smile. It may be speaking the truth as you know it. That might even sometimes rub somebody else the wrong way. But what can I do today to be an instrument of peace, whether I'm sowing love, happiness, any of those things that we are going to hear again in the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. So you got it? Affirm, allow, get that angel or that spirit connection, and become an instrument of peace in one way every day. I challenge you to try it for this next week. See what difference it may make for you. Remember that key spiritual truth. Peace is possible when we affirm it, allow it, and become it. Remember I told you about that menorah, that Hanukkah menorah, that Hanukkah? Well, the one in Central Park is 36 feet tall, biggest one in the world. And in the center is that candle or that lamp called the shamash candle. Be the shamash. Take that light and light something else up. That's what being peace in this world is all about. And so it is. Amen. I remember that I've been told that I'm supposed to stand here now and say we're going to have the song by Cinnamon Twist as we go on in.